They write up entire, potentially multi-paragraph posts, only to end up deleting them? They notice this gets posted at least once a day for the past 5 years? This should seriously be a sticky post on this sub. Yes, we all do it. Yeah, but I copy and paste them into an ever-growing file called thought dump. Text. That way, my crappy unposted post can exist alongside every other half-assed idea I've had. Yup. I'll write a few paras. Then I ask myself, do I really need to post this? If it's a no, it gets deleted. Lots of times it's a no. Keeps my stress in check. Absolutely. All of the time. For the same reason. 2. Nothing weird about that to me. Helps me get the thoughts organized and out of my head to write it out. Then, I realize that no one cares what I think and most people are just here to pick fights, so it's just self-harm to voice my opinion here. Why ask people to kick me when I'm probably already down? Why are dating apps so hard for men? Because dating is hard for men. No matter how you want to put it. Dating is the hardest challenge a human being can face in this world. And men being the shorthanded section of the population in terms of intelligence. They have it harder than anyone else. It's literally throwing yourself into battle for a war that you've never trained for. And you don't even know what your weapons are. How can you possibly hope to defeat the biggest enemy a man can have, a woman, if you don't even know what your weapons are? Going into the dating apps is literally going into battle. And if you're going into battle, you better know how to kill a woman. It's the same problem that plagues the internet in general. It's too easy to be a jerk and not face any consequences. The relative anonymity of cyberspace doesn't just allow rude behavior. It is incentivized. YouTube comments are often disgusting. But it's fairly easy to avoid them if you want to. But dating is, by definition, an activity that requires you to participate and engage with others. There's no good way to filter out the bad stuff. And if there were, the dating apps would mostly avoid using it because then you would spend less time on the apps. Surveys have found that the majority of women on dating sites and apps aren't looking for partners. Using them as platforms to promote their social media or of accounts. Using them to find people to buy them lunch and or dinner. Using them to boost their egos by seeing how many men will pursue them. Using them to see who they could get with if they left their current husbands/boyfriends. And most of the people using those apps and websites, both men and women, are doing so because they can't find someone the old-fashioned way. That probably means they don't have much to offer. Though it's more likely for men that they're suffering from the 80-20 rule IRL. Meaning they're more likely to bring something at least. Is the far right really worse than the far left? Or are they equally bad? You never hear much about the far left. It's because the far left is practically non-existent compared to the far right, at least in the US. Where far right-wing fascist radicalism has taken over the Republican Party and about 30 to 40% of the population with social media and online propaganda, which has inundated normal conservative circles and proliferated in those same circles. The Democratic Party is not far left and has maintained normal semblance throughout the age of social media, with a minor fringe maybe affecting the Democrat Party as a whole. The Republican Party is now far right and pretty much fully fascist for all intensive purposes. The biggest difference is the really extreme left that people think of when you compare the two doesn't really have any power. No politicians in government really are that far left. It's just a lot of loud mouths on Twitter and Reddit. The extreme right actually has power and influence in our government. However, I'm not sure how long that will last, as the Republicans are currently on the edge of eating themselves alive. So I'd say right now the extreme right is more dangerous. The far left has far less influence on the Democrats than the far right does on the Republicans. Hardcore Christian nationalism. Far right ideas on taxation, eliminating the progressive income tax in favor of a flat tax. QAnon conspiracies, etc., have far more representation amongst elected Republican leaders in Congress and in state govs than far-left ideas, universal health care, far higher taxes on wealthy, etc., have amongst elected Democratic leaders. So the question isn't necessarily which is better or worse, but which has more impact on our daily lives. And it's the far right at this point by a significant amount. What screams this person peaked in high school to you? 1. Trying to keep a dying school alive so they can keep going to local high school sports events, even when the students would be much better off if it dissolved. 2. And when they still talk about school and exploits 30 years later. Edited to note these are two separate things, and clarification on second point. If they are in their 30s, 40s and they wear their leather jacket outside of things like high school reunions where it's only barely appropriate, they still brag about their high school GPA, or any accomplishment they made in high school. They wear their HS class ring outside of things like high school reunions. High school could have been fun. It's fine to reminisce, like how at my HS they made a random freshman swallow a goldfish whole as a school-sanctioned event /. But if it defines you still, you peaked in HS. I had a teacher who said these are the best years of your lives in quad. Since I graduated in 2003, every single year has been better than every year of school since I can really remember. High school was fucking awful and seriously depressing. I had to work as a janitor through grades 11 and 12 to pay rent. I dropped out with one class left to get a union construction job. I'm back in university now doing an engineering degree because I have worked to get my life in a position where this is possible. In my experience, it's the people that talk about things that happened in HS as if it were yesterday. Constantly. I had an ex who would always tell me crazy stories. I'd ask, when did this happen? She would say sophomore year and we were mid-20s. Over time, it became clear that HS was the best years of her life and most likely will continue to be, as she didn't have much ambition after HS. I had one good year in HS and reminisce about it every now and then, but it is not on the forefront of my mind.